What's up, YouTube? This is Dual Crazy coming at you with one of my first decks in probably like several weeks. My camera's been kind of buggy. I still need to get a better web camera, and hopefully I'll be able to do that within the next couple of weeks. But I thought I'd try to at least throw out this deck profile. This is a slightly updated version of my Satellarknight deck, post Invasion Vengeance. And honestly, like I love the fact that we have the new Satellarknight XC monster is freaking awesome. Really easy to go into those trigger plays. So without further ado, let's get into it. So for any Satellarknight deck, you want to run triple Deneb, main searcher of the deck, start your engine up, get your easy plays early on. You run triple Altair, your Graveyard Revival, combo off with your Call of Haunted, your Oasis of the Dragon Souls, and then your Foolish Burial, triple Unakale. Uh, Plain and simply, you just let it send a card to the graveyard, start your plays, start your engines for the Call of Haunted Oasis. I played double Vega. I've seen people play this at 1. I've seen a couple profiles people playing at 3. Honestly, I think 2 is probably just ripe enough that you get to see it often enough, and you only need to really play it every so often for an engine build. And then right now I've got 1 copy. I'm gonna bump this up to 2 when I get a second copy for Max C, just for the added draw power, and then 1 effect failure. Effect failure is going to be really good this format because you've got the new ABC Buster Dragon. Um, you can pretty much just counter that. Valor is actually still really good at countering a lot of other plays as well. And it's a light. I mean, it's not a bad card to have in your deck regardless. Off the spells, I'm running 2 Sky Bridges. Really good to reset your hand if you start out with a less than desired Satellar card, like an Unikali or something like that, or if you have something you can make a play with from your hand, you can always play this, swap it for a Vega, and then get Vega's play. Brand new quick play Satellarknight spell card. This card is going to be the new. This is basically MST on steroids because of the way it works. And how it works is it basically lets you destroy a number of spell and trap cards on the field equal to the number of Satellarknight monsters you have. So you'd basically go off with this play by basically using your dump engine, bring your monsters back. You can have like 3. You can Vega into 1 card, into another. Play this, kill your opponent's back row, go into your Trevere or any of your other XDs without having to worry about getting Solemn Strike necessarily. And then my 1-ohms, 1 instant fusion for Norden, 1 soul charge, win condition in a lot of cases. Right now, this is just kind of a filler until I can find something different to run it, but it's still not bad, especially for stuff like Buster Dragon, because it has to be face up for its effect to work. 1 Lightning Vortex, just because I don't have another copy of Regeki, and even though it costs you a card to play it, most people are going to play their monsters in face-up attack these days, so it really isn't too much of a drawback, and you can also send off stuff to build your engine plays for later. And then your 1 Rhoda, since it's down at 1 right now. But you basically play 4 because you're playing Deneb. And then for my traps, again, Satellarknights are heavy traps. You can play triple alphas. Really don't think you'd want to play it any less. I mean, it's basically a +1. You tribute it to Teller and get to draw a card from your deck. Triple Call of the Haunted. Of course, you know, being Satellars, you want to reuse your Satellarknights as many times as humanly possible in order to keep your combo plays going. Double anti-spell fragrance. Really it does display or displace your opponent's plays. If you're going to begin, say, Blue Eyes, where they're going to play pretty much solid spells, they only play like maybe 3 or 4 traps. So in a lot of cases, you can really slow your opponent down and maybe even take them out with just a single turn if you can get a good play off. This card is amazing with Rafflesia. Basically, your opponent summons a monster or multiple monsters in one shot, and you can pretty much just flip them down, and they can't do anything other than tributing them after that point. Double Oasis. I might knock this down to 1. Still debating on it, but it's still a pretty good card. I mean, you can keep your. It's basically 2 other copies of Call of the Haunted. 2 Quaking Mirror Forces because your opponent's gonna try to kill off some of your back row, and if you have this face down at the end, you can pretty much tell your opponent flip them down. And then for my one-ofs, One Solemn Warning, Vanities, freaking amazing. 1 Time Space and 1 Bottomless as other targets for your Rafflesia. And now onto my extra deck. First and foremost, the brand new Satellarknight, Dark Satellarknight Batlanus. This card is absolutely amazing. It's a 2 cards Revere. Basically, you just make him with 2 Satellarknight monsters. Then you can use his effect and basically count him as material, bring out Revere, reset your board, and then go off from there. And then, of course, the bad boy himself, Revere, the freaking giant Trunade of the freaking deck. Basically, just play him, reset your board. I am still playing at the moment double Deltros until I can come out with something else in its place. 1 Constellar Diamond, 1 Constellar Omega. This card can be pretty clutch sometimes if you're worried about your opponent playing, say, like a Mirror Force or something like that. You can attack with him first, and your opponent either has to try to play on it, in which case you would detach anyways, or your opponent can just let you go through the play and then destroy your other cards if they have anything. Number 86, this card I've actually had come out several times. This is an awesome card. If you can get the 5 card played, you pretty much get to have game because your opponent doesn't get to do anything for at least 2 to 3 turns. Because with one of the effects, it prevents them from normal or special summoning, which means that the only thing they can do for at least 2 turns is setting cards. Excalibur, I mean, it's an added defense because it's got the ability to basically detach to double its attack for 4K, and of course 4K beaters are not anything to take lightly. 1 Castell, 1 Rafflesia. Again, like I said, you can use these with the trap hole cards and keep your opponent from basically playing for several turns. And the 1 Norden to get off your instant fusion plays, and it also adds back to your warriors. This is going to be my rebuilding format of my extra deck, or my side deck. Double Flying Sea for those BA matchups. Just tell them no to Dante. Say no to Beatrice. 1 Upstart for draw power if you should need it. Actually, just 1 copy of MST just in case. Foolish Burial. 2nd copy of Time Space. Just because sometimes you come up against those decks that play heavy on special summonings like Blue Eyes. One of my favorite cards to play against stuff like BAs or even Cosmos because they do heavy banishment is Imperial Iron Wall. I've actually had this out early match and actually won a couple of plays because of it. Just enough said there. And then this is just like again filler. Still not bad because if your opponent's gonna try to attack you directly, you can pretty much just use this to protect yourself for at least 1 attack. And then even though a lot of decks go, if you're going against like Chaos Max, it's not really going to do much. Phoenix Chain is still pretty good. It's still average. If you can get it off on, say, Buster Dragon or something like that going against ABCs, it can really save you a few turns. That's my deck profile. Hopefully pretty soon here I will be able to have a much better camera setup. And I will say goodbye.